This is Martin Brossman
and Kramer Gallimore.
Welcome to Pinterest for Business.
Pinterest is a visual bookmarking service for pictures and videos that allow others across the world to also enjoy your interests.
Have you ever scrapbooked? Have you ever taken a magazine and pulled a picture out of it and said, someday I want that camera back?
Sure, I've done that.
This lets people do this online in a way that the entire world can see it.
That's the key. It's a social service in that, just like Facebook, your friends across the country or world can see your interests.
So where we're going to start next is show you the basic Pinterest page. So if you come to Pinterest.com for the first time, this is where it lands. And what we're seeing here is everything and then categories underneath it, videos, popular stuff, and then gifts within price ranges. So they have a huge area of categories. This is basically sort of the latest thing that's being pinned. And they have this clever idea of a request to get an invitation to make you feel special.
Exactly. And don't be scared by what you see here. This looks random, but it's not. It's things Pinterest thinks you might be interested to give you an overview of their service. But don't let this scare you.
The key is getting the invitation. So you'll click here to get an invitation, and then you'll put in your email address, and then you'll receive in your email an invitation. When you come back, you'll have a choice to sign in two ways, either using your Facebook page or your Twitter. Kramer, for businesses, what have you found is the best way to really start with this?
When you're learning, it's best to sign up for Pinterest with your personal email account and then log in with Facebook. That'll give you some good education on how Pinterest works. Once you've done that, I suggest logging in with your business Twitter account. It'll make it a lot easier to keep things separate.
Please use a password that's more of a phrase. I've talked about this in other cases, so it's hard to hack. Don't use something real short. I'm going to go ahead and log in myself, and we'll go to my page. Now we're logged into my page. This is my personal Pinterest, and what I'm seeing is the pins from all the people I'm following. So let's go back to the mind map you saw in the beginning. The whole idea is this idea of pinning, and you're pinning a picture. So imagine taking a picture and pinning it on a physical bulletin board. That's the analogy they're drawing from. You can pin a picture from your computer. That's just uploading a picture from your computer to Pinterest. You can pin from a website. That's going to a web page, and then it will scan for the photos on the page and let you pull those in. You're going to pin onto something called a board, and you set up boards on Pinterest.
This is a key component. In your home, you might only have one pin board or bulletin board. With Pinterest, you can have as many as you want. So if you're interested in food, photography, architecture, you can have one board for each of those subjects.
The concept of interacting with others is you can follow all the pins of a friend of yours or a business or one particular board. So let's say, Kramer, since you do social media as well as experience as a professional photographer, you may want to follow someone's board just on the latest lenses, right?
Exactly, or just on the latest trends in social media.
You can also search for words and categories on Pinterest as well and look them up. And the third component is you're going to like, comment, or repin. So let's go over to Pinterest and look at some of this. First, we'll talk about pinning. So here in pinning, to pin, you go up here to the word add in the upper right hand corner after you've signed in and click it, and it brings up a page that gives you three options. Add a pin, meaning I'm grabbing a URL and bringing it in. The next area is upload a pin, which means I'm uploading a photo from my computer. And the third is creating a new board. So if I want to create a new board to pin to, I can do that as well. So let's start with just adding a pin. So here I could copy in a URL of a web address, and it will then go look for the photo. So I'm going to put in one of mine, since I know I have rights to the photos on it. Put in the web address, click Find Photos. But here I'm going to look. I have a video on my home page. There's some photos there of my Pinterest page. And then I have an example of my Facebook page that's pulled in from there. So I'm going to grab that photo today and I'm going to put it under one of my many categories. So I'll put this under business photos. And this will be my Facebook timeline page.
Critical, remember to describe it.
Now, when we grab it from a website like our own, it will also bring in with the picture the URL pointing back to it, and we'll show you how to check that. If I want to share this on Facebook or Twitter, I can do that here.
I think one of the advantages of Pinterest is the ability to share it, particularly with Facebook.
So here's the page. It's a photo that people can see under business photos. So we'll go to business photos, which is one of my boards, and let you see I have a number of items here. I've started with it, and so here's my Facebook page, me talking about my podcast. Here at the top, I have not given it a category yet, so it will prompt for me or someone else to give it a category. It wants everything into categories, so it's prompting that now, and I can pick one of the categories. I'm going to put it under other because I don't see a category I like yet, so it'll stop asking me that. Kramer, would you type in something for us to follow?
Let's look for Whole Foods.
So here's Whole Foods. I haven't followed this yet, and I can choose to follow everything Whole Foods posts.
Most people probably wouldn't want to follow this much. You might want to pick categories or boards that are of interest to you. If you're a vegetarian, you might want to follow Eat Your Veggie.
One of these to just follow. This is a high-tech, always on the edge. Well, I like technology, so I'm going to follow that one.
Makes great sense.
So now it will show up on my main feed. So if I go up here on Pinterest, it's going to show up here, and it's going to bring in things from other people as they come out. So it's a dynamic thing going on. So it's like following and being followed in our boards and people, similar to Twitter. If you're familiar with Twitter, that's how it works. So Christina is pretty busy right now. It's not filtered in any way. So if your friend's late at night pinning everything about Star Wars, it'll show up. Then on the left-hand side, it will also give you activity and showing you what's going on, who is pinning your stuff, some suggestions of people. I know Ken. I'm going to go ahead and follow him. And it's going to offer the activity that's going on around your pins. So you're getting a social aspect to this as well.
And this is ever changing, so this is one of the steps that bother people. They don't really know what they're seeing, but if you'll just look at it, understand what other people are doing, maybe follow people that you actually know personally, that follow their interests, it might make better sense to you.
Absolutely. Then if you want to see what everybody's posting, now if something's inappropriate, people can report it. So this is what the world at this moment in time here is pinning. And this is the main feed. You can learn something too by seeing what people find of interest or under a category. So if you're a business and you handle food or architecture or women's apparel, you can see what people's attention are drawn to by analyzing this.
This is actually very fascinating, so I recommend checking this out and scrolling down and look at different times of the day.
Now we'll go back to our list. So the next is what we just demonstrated is we can search by words or categories. You can put it in and search an individual's name, whatever you want, you'll see under that search criteria. Then there's liking, commenting, and repinning. Let's show that. Okay, so here's this is great. Jay Izzo is a friend of mine, and he always is posting something that interests me. So it's some stats. So let's try repinning with this one. So what I can do here is I can either click the picture or repin directly. Let's click the picture. Now I'm seeing the picture larger, and I go, wow, that's a piece of tech info I'd like to keep. So I can like it or I can repin it. So I click the repin button, and I want to put this under, I have a general category called technology. So I'm going to put it under technology and then pin it. Now it's in my board as well.
Makes great sense. And this is not dissimilar from Facebook sharing.
So if we go to my board to see it, under my name I can see my board. Let's go to technology, and there it is. So if I look at the board, It shows you my board of technology, and I like pinning things. And I'm going to put under technology, I'll go ahead and claim education as a category. So they stop asking me. They want everything into a category. So these are a number of things that I think is useful. Sometimes things I want to come back to even. If I go into my boards and I'll pick up something that's important like books you should read. I'll take my social media book. My goodness, I seem to recommend it. And then under the edit button, what you see is the description, which I put in, and then the link, and then the board. And this links right here to the Amazon page where this book can be purchased.
And this link back to your business is absolutely critical.
So if somebody, what does that mean? If someone comes here and sees my book and clicks on it, it takes us to the Amazon page where they could purchase it if they want it.
Which is exactly what you want if you're involved with Pinterest as a business. You want your pins to refer back to your business.
We need to talk about what we call tiers of risk. Pinterest, in some ways, could be viewed as one of the world's biggest copyright violations, right?
I think so. So if you pin photographs that you own the rights to, for instance, that you have on your website, there's no risk at all.
This is the safest, no-risk way to do it. Business owns the rights, and they have what are called visual watermarks.
That's great, because once the pictures are pinned and repinned, it's possible to lose the origin of the images, but if there's a visual watermark, your business will never get lost.
The next level of risk is pinning from sites that have a pin it button, and you've found a number of sites that already have that, and some sites that should have them that don't.
That's correct. And if you want to encourage pinning, I would recommend adding that pin it button as soon as possible. That way someone who really wants to do the right thing will feel free to pin any and everything on your site.
And then the higher risk, which we generally don't recommend, is someone that clearly has high controlled picture content or scanning a photo in that you don't have rights to, like from a museum program, and putting them on the web.
Correct, or an art book you bought, say, from Barnes & Noble.
So an example for a pro photographer, the photos on his page, that's his livelihood.
That's correct, and you should check and be sure it's okay with this photographer to repin them
before you do it, even if it's your own wedding or event.
Especially if it's your own wedding or event, just check with him or her.
Let's talk about visual watermarks. Make sure your photos have that on. And then the other is a URL back to what you want. So Kramer, let's go to your page and demonstrate what a visual watermark is. So there are different levels of visual watermarks. This is one that obscures it more directly. And then you've already evolved where you're using a different one.
Right, I have it a smaller watermark, and it's in the lower right corner. My idea is to be sure that the person can find the origin of the pictures without completely visually ruining it.
So you get to decide which level you want.
That's correct, and everybody will be comfortable with different watermarking. It can change depending on the circumstance.
This concludes our introduction to Pinterest with myself, Martin Brossman, and
Kramer Gallimore.
If you enjoyed it or like it, please add a comment at the bottom of the video. We want to hear it. It means a lot to us. Pass it on to your friends, and there you'll find contact information on how to reach us. I work with social media consulting and advising as a business coach. And then Kramer?
I'm a commercial photographer and videographer and social media expert.